This is the guy, discreet, wants a hookup. Someone comes along, he quite likes them. They have a transactional bonk, and he's like, oh, maybe we'll do it again, right? And that's bonk.
Quote
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, welcome back, everybody. My name is Phil Marriott. I'm once again joined by the fabulous Sean Vickers and the equally fabulous Raj Rudolph. How are you, boys?
Good, good, good. Hanging in there.
Sean?
Exactly what Raj said.
There we go.
Hanging in there.
I hope you're not going to be doing this at the end of the review. Exactly what he said. So,
Basically, I'm going to say exactly what Raj said the whole way through it.
we are reviewing Sequin in a Blue Room today, directed by Samuel Van Grinsven. It stars Conor Leach, who I think is a newcomer. I think it's his first feature.
Yeah,
What did we make of it?
Great, wasn't he? Yeah, I liked him.
Did you?
I thought he had quite an interesting energy. Yeah.
So you like the actor? Did you like the character?
Well, I've got views on the character, but I
Yeah.
thought the actor did a good job. He
Okay.
reminded me kind of kind of Troye Sivan, kind of like floaty queer Australian. Energy.
Bit mysterious.
Bit mysterious, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit.
Raj, what did you make of him?
Oh, I kind of like that. What Sean said about floaty Troy Sivan, empty shell of Australia. That kind of sums it up perfectly. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. He was an interesting character. I think the whole story was a bit of a metaphor about maybe you should just date people your own age.
Follows the story of this like empty vessel Troye Sivan Australian character called Sequin.
He's not paying us, by the way.
He's not paying us. Called Sequin, and he is in this like generation of hookups and hookup and block, always on kind of mentality, and he has an interaction with an individual that really changes his perspective on the way he approaches life, I guess. And the story follows him through his kind of like I don't know what the period of time is, but a few months in his life in Australia. He's a different generation of kind of gay queer man to what I am, so I find that really interesting. I'm sure we were all doing fun things when we were kids, but it's just very different. I'm intrigued by that in some ways. I enjoyed the film. I like the tonality of it. I like the way it looked. He's a very odd character, Sequin, and I think there's some deep-rooted questions, and it's problematic. But you don't really understand why. You get a sense of the family environment, but you don't understand why, and it's never really played out. But there's kind of two things running in parallel in my head that we can kind of talk about. One is this kind of older man, and then the other is this kind of peer, and how that interaction works through. And I found that interesting because of kind of how you sometimes feel like unconscious bias. Like, why do we feel this way about the older man, but we don't feel this way about either how he's operating or this partner that he has? And that's all kind of deep rooted. So I found that very interesting.
It's a good point, actually, because I suppose he is exploring. He's in this like world of anonymous sex, and he likes that. He seems to feel quite comfortable with the fact that he doesn't really want to say who he is, and he has this, obviously, the Sequin in the Room title comes from something that he wears. But I suppose he is exploring what he wants out of a relationship, whether that's a full-on relationship that he will settle down with somebody, or just a sexual relationship that is fleeting. So it's kind of interesting that was explored. Both sides of that were explored, and I suppose it does change as the story goes on. The problem I had was that I didn't really feel connected to him as a character. I found him quite cold. I mean, he's really rude to his father, but I suppose a lot of us were at that age. So I suppose it's that kind of adolescent phase, isn't it, where he's exploring things and he doesn't want to be tied down, both in his relationships and also at home, in that home life. So I just felt I just didn't warm to him until the end, until the closing moments, which was a shame, I thought.
I kind of have to agree. I feel like the whole emotionless core of the character, it didn't draw me into him at all. And I wanted to like him. I don't know, he's 16. Do 16-year-olds, is that their sort of, sexual adventures at 16 now? Because it's a lot different, I guess, if that is the case than when we were that age.
Well,
First of all, I never talked to my father like that, and I'd get slapped across the face.
well, I mean, you said that, Sean, didn't you? That was quite interesting. The fact that, you know, it's very different to people that are older. I mean, I'm more than, let's not even go there, but I'm more than twice that age, shall we say, politely. And yes, it is very different, but then I'm in a different kind of situation. As you get older, you do become in a different situation.
I guess sort of like the main thread too is like, because everything is so accessible, sex is so accessible via apps that, you know, there's almost a loss of innocence in the way that kids go about sex these days. And it is very empty. I mean, even as adults, you know, if anyone's on the app, it does kind of feel a little bit empty. And, you know, this is what kids are exposed to, you know, at early ages. And that's how they, you know, they'll never know the experience of going into a gay bar and hooking up with someone and leaving, because that is just not what kids do these days. So it made me kind of think, like, is it about the whole movie, is it loss of innocence and how it's different today versus how it, you know, was for people who are a little bit older like us?
I like the idea what you're playing with, Raj, about loss of innocence. I mean, I probably had adventures / misadventures at like 16, 17, I'm not going to lie. There's something about how it makes him feel. Something gives him power through those apps. He feels empowered by something that he's doing, and he also feels slightly invincible. And when you think about when you were like between the ages of 16 and 21, you literally thought you could do anything. You had no worries. You were just like, and I think that's where he sits. He's in this emboldened space where he's like, I'm king of the world. You know, I'm 16, I got this app and go around shagging, whatever. Amazing. And then the film slowly unpacks that. You start to see some of the real risks that happen in those kind of situations, which I thought was quite interesting. And then there was this conversation about his home life, which is never really unpacked. And this idea really that everything's quite transactional.
What did you think of the way that the apps were displayed on the screen? Because a lot of times films can get that wrong, and it doesn't seem quite as real as when you're actually using apps. I mean, it was quite fluid, I thought. It was quite well done. The whole kind of technical aspects of the film, and also the way it was shot as well. I thought that seemed quite good.
Quite like the non-graphic. I thought it was quite cool.
Yeah.
It's like someone's really thought through that. It's actually quite cool.
Exactly.
No, I liked it. I thought those kind of elements felt very natural and felt like you were in a process. And I think when it needed to be pacey, it was pacey.
I don't know what you thought about the whole way that it felt. Well, to me, it felt like a stage show. I can imagine that being on stage. I don't know whether that was maybe an idea that they had before it became a feature, whether they'd explored that area of actually doing it on stage, because I think it was, in a lot of ways, it was quite simple the way it was done. It didn't seem like it needed a lot of effects or a lot of action necessarily. It seemed like the sort of thing I just felt like that. It felt like a stage show to me.
Yeah, maybe. I think certainly some of the scenes in that kind of, what was it called? The Blue Room.
Oh, the Blue Room, yeah.
The Blue Room, which is really fruity. But yeah, yeah, some of those elements, I think, the way it was framed, the camera work was really interesting, actually. I quite liked it.
And it was quite snappy. It was 80 minutes, which is quite nice in today's terms, because a lot of films are 2-3 hours long.
Well, you know, my favourite comment is take 20 minutes out.
Yeah.
Take 20 minutes out. I just want to talk about the older guy, because he's not older, he's probably our age. But don't go there. There was a few things that kind of wound me up about the film around the older guy, because, well, it's probably Sequin that wound me up about it. But, you know, there's the way it's presented is kind of the older guy stalking Sequin, and you're getting this sense of kind of like he feels under pressure, under threat, whatnot. Sequin then does whether he's outed him or whether he goes about an act of outing him is something that one of the reasons why I was like, don't like this guy. That's not his position to do that. And then what doesn't come across is Sequin's basically doing the same with that guy, which is he's pursuing him, stalking him, following him, and knows his every movement. And I think that for me is the interesting thing in the movie, because it is a bit like, but he's young though, and he's exploring, but actually he knows exactly what he's doing. He's actually quite calculated. And I think that's where there's an interesting interplay there between that, which maybe doesn't come across as strong as it should, which is he's got cognitive processes. He's doing something. He's mindful of it. But the older guy is the baddie, you know. But actually, they're just gay men pursuing other gay men. The difference is their age.
How subvergent is it that he stole his phone? You know, and we're like sitting here feeling sorry for Sequin because he's being stalked, but maybe the guy just wanted his damn phone back too.
Yeah,
and that's
totally.
really like you say, very calculated, and using his own information against him, and you know, stealing someone's phone for shits and giggles is quite evil.
Absolutely, and I guess maybe that highlights his naivety as well at his age, because I guess we were all naive at that age. You know, some more than others. But I suppose you could say also that he was a bit of a stalker in some respects, because he goes to one character's flat and watches outside his door and finds out something there. But
exactly.
So he's
got the behaviours are really similar.
Yeah.
But it paints the older guy as some kind of psychopath. And actually, if you put yourself in his shoes, you're like, this is the guy, discreet, wants a hookup. Someone comes along, he quite likes them, you know, they have a transactional bonk, and he's like, oh, maybe we'll do it again, right? And that's like, bonk.
Quote that.
You know?
Transactional bonk, I'm loving it.
Bonk. No, this kid isn't perfect, and he knows what he's doing. That's why I was a bit like, ooh, yeah, poor Sequin. I'm like, you know, screw him.
Yeah.
You know, it does have some universal appeal. I mean, we've all been stalked by someone we don't want to be stalked by.
Oh, juicy. Tell us more.
We've all had, you know, our little like game playing situations when, you know, when you're on the hunt, et cetera, et cetera. I think the drag queen kind of mentor relationship at the end was really important. You know, it was very cliche, but it was very important to the story, and that's where like I think you start to see Sequin start to learn new things, like, you know, family is who you choose. You'll always have someone older to look up to. Despite the creepiness for the first 3/4 of the film, it kind of redeemed itself at the end to me.
So star rating, guys. It's a 3 for me.
3.
3 for me.
It did its
Really
job.
transactional.
It's not a very enthusiastic 3 from us, but it's 3.
3.
So it gets a release on the 9th of April, UK and Ireland release on the 9th of April, obviously online because of the pandemic. But yeah, it's called Sequin in a Blue Room. Good to see you, boys. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.